Instead of telling you who we are, we're going to tell you why we're here. That matters more. Here's our why.
My routine when Dave left for his 48-hour firefighting shifts was always to say, I love you, be safe. For many years, Dave would just respond with,
I love you.
back. He finally told me he couldn't promise me his safety, and so he never wanted to lie and say, I'll be safe back. Because emergency responders prioritize the safety of others over their own. Their jobs are inherently unsafe. But most people can't really promise their safety because life is fragile and the world is unpredictable. And what I really meant by saying be safe was a need for Dave to simply come home, return to me, our life, our family alive. Don't die, come home. Accepting the injury that the brokenness of the world might cause him, any first responder, and in reality, any human on this earth, doesn't mean that we don't keep going and keep living and keep growing. So we can't ask you for your safety, but we won't stop caring for our communities, and we will ask you all to do your very best to take care of your lives, your bodies, and your brains. Know that death is inevitable, and know that every moment counts.
So don't die out there and don't die up here. We believe that being real offers opportunity for growth and ultimately success. Success in self, in relationships, goals, and in building a community of mental fortitude. That is our what. To model vulnerability so that our communities can be empowered to practice mental fitness to sustain long-lasting relationships with themselves and their people. As the Anchorage, Alaska Fire Department says, I'm not here for me, I am here for we, and we are here for them. So, love you.
Don't die. You're going to move over a little bit. There you go.
All right. Well, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
First podcast done in the can yesterday. As they say in the biz, in the can. A lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
It fucking sucked.
Dude, that was so
I
hard.
hated all of it. This is why we've never done this before. Because, like I
this
said,
is the reason?
well, yeah, I didn't want to do this. Siren's here. She says hi. No, I mean, all this stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah, it was difficult
Anyways,
for sure.
So yeah, it's done. This is going to be our first check-in.
Yeah.
This is how the rest of the episodes will go. And we're just going to kind of recap our week. So.
Absolutely. And we're up against it because the kiddos are flying in from visiting my mom and Doug in Arizona. So we had a week kidless.
And we have about 20 minutes. So we got to cut. We got to make sure we're not over talking.
Yeah, which is
So we got 20 minutes to talk about our week.
Just got done working out. I put in a couple miles, did a little bit of balance work, trying to work on my ankles, getting ready for trail running season. Trying to still convince Sammy to put in for that late year 100K, but I don't think that's going to happen
Because
this
we
year.
don't have time.
I know.
We don't have time to train. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that we don't have time. It just, yeah.
What'd you do?
I rucked with my Go Ruck, 25 pounds, and I did 4 miles. But I ran 4 miles with my ruck.
You did 8-minute miles,
Like
7-minute.
psycho. No, they're like 9:50 minute miles.
Sure.
And then I did some core work, and that was it.
Nice. Yeah. A little
With my 2% patch on the back, Michael Easter.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. He's pretty fucking cool. And that was
Awesome.
it.
Yeah, it was a good week. A lot of work stuff, but not work stuff. A lot of
Creative work stuff.
creative work stuff.
So we didn't actually have to go into work this week because we were supposed to actually take our camper out for the week up to the mountains while the kids were gone. But the weather wasn't so good, and so we didn't end up doing that. So we had like a staycation at home. We had some meetings, like a creative meeting on Monday that was really awesome, and then we did end up going to a training out in Lake City, Colorado. We trained their emergency response team members out there. So that was kind of a 2-day thing because it was driving there. It's like 5 hours and driving home. But other than that, our work this week was creative work. So we worked on the podcast and we worked on stuff that we don't ever have time to do because usually we are doing normal work.
Yeah.
And then fitting in little tiny vacations all over the year because of your work schedule where we can't go on normal like week-long stuff.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's usually how our time is spent, is cramming a whole bunch of work in so that we can take time off and then cram work in and take time off and cram work in. So we're like a work hard, really hard, play really hard kind of family because of the responder life, I guess, and shift work. So
there was, I think,
Siren, really? Come here.
there was some great stuff that I at least learned from this week.
She's so mad.
She
She wants to play right now. She's been inside all day. She's like, hates us. You want to say hi?
I could probably see her and how pissed her face is.
Okay. Anyway.
Awesome. So I think I got a lot from this week. Like you said, I think we really maximize our time off to make sure that we do a lot of stuff, which I super enjoy.
Yeah.
But that becomes a detriment because, and I know this sounds like, oh, poor me. Like, we do play hard. We go on a lot of vacations, but this might be one of the first times in our relationship that we didn't go somewhere on a 10-day.
It's just really annoying.
You know?
Yeah. So we usually, 10-day. Let me clarify what that means for people that aren't crazy like us and for
From Mutzi, because we know she's the only one watching.
So 10 days, what Dave is referring to is that he has a 48-hour schedule. So he goes on shift for 48 hours, and he is there from, like, let's say it's a Monday. So he leaves at like 5 a.m. in the morning on Monday, and then he gets home on Wednesday around 8 a.m. And then he is off for 4 days until his next shift starts. So his next shift would be... So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So then he goes
I wasn't paying attention
back
when I
on
started.
Sunday, and then has
following
another
weekend,
48. And he's gone completely. Like, he doesn't come home in between that time. So the reason why, or what a 10-day means, is that if he has a shift off, which he gets a couple a year off, then he is off for 10 days because he has the 4 days plus his shift plus another 4 days before he goes back. So when we have a 10-day, it's great because we have all this time to do whatever we want. And fortunately, because of the fact that I run my own practice and business, I can, in theory, schedule my days around vacation times, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't have to take time off, which is really nice, but what happens is, because I don't get paid like normal people do for time off, I have to double stack my days before vacation and after vacation.
Yeah.
So I'm like a fucking psycho.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just to have vacation, which is, it's this weird dichotomy of awesomeness and terribleness. Not terribleness, difficulty, because we do have the flexibility, which is super great, but the flexibility becomes at a sacrifice to my time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and it's just a lot putting it together. Mm-hmm. So it was nice. It was nice to be home, do some work around the house, kind of get the house set up for spring. Mm-hmm. Think about some things we want to do. And
You gave her a bone?
I just pulled her basket out. I never said I was smart. That was probably a bad idea.
Okay.
So you might need to take that from her because I don't want to take it from her because she loves me. So we hung out around the house, did some stuff. Like Sammy said, we got to go down to Lake City. It was awesome to meet the responders down there. About a town of 400 year-round residents, if I remember correctly. And then they have a couple festivals where they swell up to a couple thousand.
Really busy peak seasons.
So, and they've invited us to go run a race next year, which will be a lot of fun. Sounds like it'll be a fun race. So we'll probably be back down there next year in 2025. Put some miles under our belt, some miles and smiles. It was a really cool opportunity to meet people that do the same job that I do in a completely different environment. They're driving an hour to the nearest hospital up in Gunnison. Their calls, they're all volunteer, and their calls are 2, 3, 4 hours long for a simple transport. So really interesting to get to talk to them, get to learn more about them, to learn more about rural medicine out there and what they're doing
and how like resiliency applies, but it's very different, right?
yeah.
Like a lot of things that we teach responders to do to make sure, not just responders, everybody to do to take care of their well-being. Some of the things like they already do naturally because they have to, right? Like they were talking about food. We do a whole thing about like food, like making sure like what you put into your body is fuel, and what does that look like, and what kind of things you put into your body, and all this stuff. And they're like, well, we don't have fast food. You know, like that's not even a thing. Like they don't eat a lot of processed food because it's not what is there, you know? So anyways, I thought it was just cool. Like I feel like I learned a lot from them, not just teaching at them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I thought was super eye-opening for me was you can work at a fire department that runs 100,000 calls a year, 2, 3, 400,000 calls a year, or you can work at as a volunteer at a department running a couple hundred calls a year, 400 or 500 calls a year, I think is what their ambulance puts in, something around there. And a lot of the same mental challenges, thank you, that I face as a first responder at a halfway decent, busy fire department. They're facing the same thing. We always joke like it's just a different person in a blue shirt, but it was really true. Like they're
different lives, same problems.
They're facing some of the same problems that I'm facing as a first responder in the Metro Denver area, and they're hours away from the nearest big city. And it was really, really interesting. It was a great eye-opening opportunity for me to get out there and to see a part of the state I'd never been to before, and learn from them as well what they're doing and how they're coping with the challenges that they have. So it was a lot of fun.
And that, I think, is something that I learned refuels me.
What's that?
Oh, well, like I guess it's like learning new things. I don't know. Like we were still working, but we were also being taught. I don't know. Like sometimes I just feel like, we're burning our candle so bright that we get like really, burnt out by like teaching and doing, even though we love to teach. And this time teaching didn't feel taxing to me. Like it felt fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I think that's part of what I wanted to talk to today about was just like, how do you spend your time, right? Like when you do have time off, whatever that looks like, it doesn't mean that you go on a trip or you go on vacation, but what do you do with your time when you're not working for money? Let's just put it out there, right? Yeah. And how is that? Everybody is different, and are you really finding like solace and reset in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think that's an important conversation for couples to have, for friends to have that vacation together, for families to have that vacation together, or not even vacation, just have time off together.
Yeah, it could be a weekend.
Because I don't think we always really know what we need as an individual to feel reset. Because I feel like this is the first time we've been we are very lucky because of our schedules and because of our mentalities, like work hard, play hard, that we play hard a lot.
Yeah.
I don't ever feel reset from it.
You feel reset this
week? I just feel like I'm just continuing to chug along, right? Like I'm like heightened, and then I come back here, and then I get heightened again, and I come back. Like I never feel like, oh, I'm going back down to baseline. This is the first time in a really long time after this week that I felt reset. Like I'm ready to go back to work on site next week and be like excited to see my boys and girls.
So what was it about this week, you think?
Well, we did a lot. Like it wasn't like we sat on our asses. That's not something that I can't do. Like I just can't. I like to, but I also like to be like challenged, So that's why I think we adventure a lot, because we both like to be challenged. But I need like a balance of the challenge, or maybe just more of like what I want to be challenged in. Like, I feel like this week the challenge was creativity. So we were using our brains, which that makes me excited.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't make me taxed out. But we also worked out every day. And our workouts weren't like Tetrised into like these tiny slivers of hours that we have. That's another thing, is like working out refuels me. But lately it's been like an obligation because we're so busy.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, I gotta work out, and here it is at like 5 a.m. in the morning or 6 p.m. at night because I don't have time to do it otherwise. And so like this week we got to like go on trail runs that weren't scheduled trail runs, or you know, or schedule time off. And then we got to go to yoga all the times I wanted to, like, which usually is like I'm running from my client to get there, or I'm running from the department, or I'm coming down the mountain to make it in time, and sometimes I don't, and whatever. Like, it's stressful. The stuff that I like to do has become stressful because I'm trying to fit it in, and we didn't have to do that this week.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was a good week for us to really realize what our priorities are, where they lie, and how to make sure that we're feeling refueled, not just when we have a week or a couple days off. Like, this was a really good trip for us to be like,
time, not even trip.
Yeah,
Trip
our
to home.
time. Yeah, time.
Our tiny house.
Yeah.
By the way, which is 1,500 square feet, maybe.
It's less than that, but
Our tiny home.
yeah. But I think it was a really good week for us to really realize where we need to refocus our, like you said, our time.
Yeah.
If we have to get up and work out at 5 a.m., that's fine. That's what we do.
I mean,
we'll
lots
do
of
it.
people do.
100%. But it's like, are we filling our days up with stuff that refuel us? And sometimes, you know, work is not going to refuel you, and that's okay, and that's understandable. But like, how can I adjust all of the things that I need to do so I can feel refueled? At least when I'm away from work.
Yeah. So I think I learned is that I have to be more intentional about picking days where, like, in the middle of the week, or because I work weekends too, like I'm working, so do you, like where I'm working with your schedule and the shift schedules and whatnot. But I have to pick days where I am intentionally not planning something, so that when I get to that week, I can be like, I don't have anything to do today, so I'm going to go get my hair done that day. Or I'm going to go to, you know, yoga in the morning, and then I'm going to go take Siren for a 2-hour walk because I can, you know. Or I'm going to, like, you know, see if one of my friends wanted to go out to dinner with me because Dave's at work that day and the kids are going to be with grandpa or whatever. I think that's what I've learned, is I have to do more of that, because what I do right now is I still plan those things, but they're crunched into a million other things. So they don't give me anything.
Yeah.
They end up feeling obligatory instead of fun.
And I think,
so, yeah.
I think that's what kind of happened at the start of this week when we had our little bit of
A fight?
a kerfuffle.
Yeah, we got into a fight. Let me just be real.
Okay.
It wasn't like a punching fight, but like I got pissed at you.
Yeah.
And you were being a bitch, so.
So, the beginning of this week, we sat down. I think it was Monday afternoon after we had our meeting. And the days I come home from work are usually generally kind of tough for me, trying to get back to, you know, a green state, if you will, and get back to kind of a normal state. I went right from work to the meeting. Had a great meeting with the fire department that we were working with. Super cool stuff coming up. And then we sat down. You're like, all right, let's figure out what we're doing this week. And you took 6 sticky notes out and wrote down the 700 things we had to get done this week. And that was my perception of this. Was like, I was like, the fuck are we gonna get? There's not enough hours in the year to get all this stuff
But that's
done.
actually why I got the sticky notes out.
And
Was because you were complaining about how we weren't going to have time to do stuff. And I was like, oh, no,
Yeah.
we will. So let's tell the story
all right, go
correctly.
ahead. Tell the story, my lady.
No, I'm just saying Dave was getting overwhelmed because
Which
he didn't communicate to me that he has things that he wanted to get done this week, because we were going to be at home and have time to do stuff that we normally don't have to do, but didn't tell me until the day of the first day that we were home. And Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday were both going to be filled up by driving to Lake City. So those were completely out. So then we were left with Tuesday and Friday, and then half of the day today before the kids came home. That's 2.5 days. But Dave, because, Dave's like, I just want to have fun all the time and nothing really matters, doesn't say anything until fucking, what's the 9th inning? Is that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Till the 9th inning. And then he's like, well, I mean, we don't have any time. I'm like, yeah, we fucking do. That's why I got the sticky notes out, is because we did have time, but I had to show you how it all looked because you don't think those things through.
No.
And not your fault, because everybody needs to have fun, but something I'm good at is being like, no. I can fit the most ridiculous things into a day. Mm-hmm. I know we can do this. Mm-hmm. And we can also have a lot of fun. And we can also go out and go shoot pool and go to our favorite restaurants and whatever all week long.
Yeah.
And work on a podcast.
Yeah.
That we've never done before in our whole lives.
Yeah.
But I had to spell it out for you, right? So that's the real story of what happened. Yes, I was mad and being kind of a brat, but...
And I think
that's because you waited to the last minute to say anything.
Yeah, about the things that I wanted to get done.
Yes.
And so I think maybe
that reset you, refuel you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And so maybe that's where we take the rest of this podcast for the next little bit. It was like, how do we have that conversation with our partner, our spouse, our friends, our children, and not be stuck in the past of, oh, well, this happened once before, so I'm not going to ask, or I'm not going to be willing to say, hey, I need help with this. Or last time I said this, they got up my ass about it. So maybe what are some tips and tricks that we can use as partners or people, let's just say people, to be willing to practice that vulnerability to say, hey, I need to ask for this
and
help.
Not in the 9th inning.
Okay,
first tip, don't wait till the last minute.
Got it. Wait for the puck to drop. Is that what you're saying? Let's start mixing sports.
That's the start.
Yes. Was that when you would like me to do it?
I don't care. When you went a month ago, when we decided we weren't going to go to Lake City for the week, because we were supposed to be gone the whole week up there and camping and stuff. So that would have been a good time. Like, hey, Sammy, that's a great time for me to work on the truck and for to go weld and do the side by side rack and all this stuff, so that I had it on my radar, right, or whatever. But number one, I think just be more communicative in the moment and not wait.
Yep.
And then that was on me though too, because there was a lot of things that maybe I didn't say. Like I wanted to go to all the yoga classes we like to go to that we don't usually get to go to because of the kids' sports, and I didn't say that to you.
Yeah, yeah. And then they were put on the notes, and I'm like, okay, like so. I'm told like
even though you want to do it,
absolutely.
And same with me. I want to help you with the truck stuff and the welding stuff, even though I don't know how to do it. It's not my thing. But like we both wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But instead of maybe having some conversations before we got there, it was a last minute, like, what are we doing this week?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I think number one is just being proactive and trying to be. And then I think the second one is just not mind reading our partners, our families, our friends, because what we tend to do is that, like you said, well, I know that if I tell Dave that I want to go to yoga on a day that he's with the kids or he's home, so when on his 4-day, and he can't because, Merrick wants to go do this, so there's different kinds of things that people want to do, then I'm going to go without him, and he's going to get sad because he doesn't get to spend time with me. And like, yeah, and like I have to be able to say this is important to me today. Like I know I'm going to be overwhelmed this week, or I know there's a lot of things going on, or maybe I don't know till that morning. And hey, I'm having a really hard day this morning. I'm going to go to yoga. I know that Merrick wants you to do this with him tonight. Do you think you can make time for it? Or if not, can somebody else help him with it? Or if not, I'm going to go anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because me doing that thing that I want to do is going to help me for the rest of my night with you when the kids go to bed, that I'm engaged and we have our time and whatever. And if I don't communicate that to you because I'm scared of how you're going to feel, or that, you're going to think that I'm prioritizing this over you, or whatever the case is, then I'm not going to get what I need or want. And then I'm going to show up shitty for you later.
Yeah.
And be pissed about it.
And that's exactly what happened this week. Was I was like, there was a couple things that I was hoping to get done because we weren't going to be leaving. And instead of communicating that with you in the moment, or at tip off, that's the third sports reference we've used so far, that I was like, shit, I waited, and now I'm behind the 8 ball, another sports reference, and I'm building up like a story in my head. I'm mind reading of how this is going to go. Instead of saying like, I did it in a crummy way about saying, well, we have competing objectives this week. That didn't go very well. But so what I should have done, was like, hey, I have some things. Can I bring, I have a couple things that I'd like to do. And as soon as we kind of got through me being a little whiny about it, like the things that I wanted to get done, you're like, okay, perfect. Look, we have time this day. We totally have time this day to do it. And I will come help you. You're like, I don't know how to do it, but I'm more than willing to come help in any way that I can.
Yeah.
And so I was painting a story in my head of, my past, not even my past relationship with you, but past relationships with my parents and with my late wife and all of that kind of stuff. Instead of giving you an opportunity to show up differently, if I'm willing to show up differently
to get what you want ultimately, right?
Yeah. Then why can't I extend the partner extend the same olive branch towards me? So I needed to be willing to show up differently. Like we talk about when we go to RTR, is if you're not growing as a couple in a relationship, you're going downhill. And I think that was like one of my favorite things about driving back when we were driving back from Lake City was we were just talking about things, and I was asking you questions and challenging not you, but like the greater world and questions and stuff like that. And it was a really fun conversation to have, because I feel like when you have those conversations, you kind of grow. So it was a lot of fun.
Do you want to shut that off?
It's too late. We only have a couple minutes because the kids should be landing in about 5 minutes. Okay. So
that's probably her.
Oh, what's that say?
Taryn, I'll tell you when we're getting our bags.
Oh, well.
So great. Thanks, Taryn.
Hi, how are you? I don't know if you're listening to this.
So I think like the first step is try to be proactive when you can. It's not always the case. Sometimes shit hits a fan, whatever. But being proactive, communicating about that. And then when you do have some things or needs that you want that maybe you feel like your partner doesn't, or that they've had a negative response from in the past, is to give them another opportunity to show up differently. And in order for them to do that, you have to approach a situation differently.
Yes, both people have to be willing to show up differently.
Yeah, and I've had so many couples that come into my office and they're like, well, I can't say that because if I say that, then they're going to say this, and this is how they're going to respond, and then he's not going to do this, and she's going to act like that. Yeah, that's because you're in patterns. That's called a relationship. Everybody gets into patterns. But when you want it to be different, it can be. The first step is to be different, right? And you both have to be willing to say, let's try something new, right? So you coming to me ahead of time, potentially. Then if you couldn't come ahead of time at the conversation, ooh, okay, Sammy, there's some things that I didn't get to bring up before because I didn't think about them. Yep. So owning yourself, owning your own kind of mentality or not mentality patterns, and then being like, there's some things that I want to do. I know you're good at figuring this out and working it into the schedule, and that's not my skill set. Can you help me? Yeah. That's a lot different than being like, well, we have competing objectives then, I guess, right? Yeah. That's not. So you show up differently. And then I hear you say, my partner, hey, can you help me? I'm not going to be like, fuck you. No, that's not what partnerships are. No matter what kind of partnership it is, no matter if it's friends, families, or romantic relationships. So being able to give the other person an opportunity to respond differently than they have in the past, if you do, right? Yeah. That's the other tool is like trying. And the third thing to make sure that you're doing is communicating that. So sometimes when you show up differently, your partner, your people are going to get caught off guard because they're not used to it. So like you procrastinate, not to throw you under the bus, but that's the thing you do. Oh, right? I do. I escalate, right? We know this about each other. So if you procrastinate and then you realize that you are, right? Instead of being like, well, but we still need to get it done, or now I have no time to do anything, because that's kind of what you do. And then I'm like, yeah, that's because you didn't tell me anything. That's a pattern we have, right? So instead it's like, hey, I know that I didn't think about this ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I would like to try something new to approach this problem that we now have, which is I have some things that need to get done, or I would like to get done so that the rest of our month goes better. Can you help me? Can we talk about it?
Yeah. And not doing that over and over again, because then that becomes a pattern.
Well, right.
Yep.
Yeah. So being able to kind of just show up with the situation a little bit differently and communicate that, hey, I want to try something different. That cues your partner into, we have a pattern that I want to try to break.
Yeah. So
Siren's whining.
Well,
That's probably our cue to go.
yeah. All right, real quick, what are you excited for this next week?
I don't know, to recognize that we got to reset, or at least I feel really balanced this week. I got to do a lot of things that I like to do. I got to be creative with you. I got to go to a training and teach, and I got to spend time at the house with you without anybody bothering us.
Yeah.
So just some gratitude like that I'm going to carry on into the week, and then being more ready to go back to be on site with people. Like, I'm excited now because I had some time to not.
Yeah.
And seeing if I can find some more days when you're at work to not work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And be okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to get back to work. I'm excited to see my friends back at the firehouse. I am excited actually to have the kids back home and kind of get back into a routine and a swing of things, and try to be a better dad this week than I was last week. So as Siren winds us
To say goodbye and pay attention to her.
to the end of this podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Like we like to say, love you.
Don't die.